Welcome to the Meta Athletics Podcast, where we transform athletes' sports performance and bring you the most up-to-date research and metas from the athletic world. Please enjoy the pod. All right, what up, Meta Monsters? Welcome back to another Meta Podcast. I guess this is the first Meta Podcast. Topic today, we're going to do a draft. So we're drafting 3 exercises or training methods, training modalities, and we'll go back and forth. 3 picks each. We'll kind of discuss a little bit about each draft as we pick it, kind of give it a little bit of an elevator pitch, defend it, talk about some strengths and why it can be applicable to athleticism for any sport, any athlete, kind of give our arguments, and then we'll move on from there. And then we'll let you guys in the comments decide which team is stronger for athletic development.
So how are we going to come up with who goes first? Should we just do...
That's a good idea.
Pick a number between 1 and 10. Cole takes the number.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, okay. Think of a number between 1 and 10. Whoever gets closest gets first pick.
You got the first pick of the number?
You got it.
I'm going 6. Was it 6? Oh.
It was not 6.
3.
Okay, Dawson wins. It was 7.
I was going to say 7.
Yeah.
I was going to say 7.
All right, let's go. All right, let's get right into it. First pick. I think this can be applied to pretty much any sport, pretty much any athlete. Super easy to implement. There's not a huge learning curve to it, which is really nice. You can kind of switch up like the aspect that you're training depending on how much you weight this thing. Give a little hint there. I'm going with sled sprints.
Oh, that's your number 1.
That's my number 1.
Actually, no,
That's my number 1. Yeah.
After thinking about it for a second, I'd agree.
Right off the bat, you can strap yourself up into a sled, and it'll just improve your acceleration mechanics so much. Like you'll be striking back behind your body. You can get that negative step, and you don't even really need to cue it. You need to generate horizontal force to move the sled in general. You can work on different phases depending on how much weight you load up. You can specify it by doing some profiling, some force velocity profiling. You build strength, and yeah, just in general, I think it helped me a lot with my acceleration mechanics and my transition a little bit. Lighter sleds are a little bit more applicable to just sprint mechanics in general. Then you can put heavier sleds if you're just trying to work on pure power output. But a lot of different ways you can use this guy. And I mean, you can even turn around and walk backwards. A little bit of rehab with the sleds too, so... that's my number 1 pick.
Damn, yeah, you kind of covered all the basics. Like, it's very versatile. You can, it's technical training for acceleration, but it also not just like gets your acceleration technique better, but like it actually gets like the physical qualities better. You can load light or you can load heavy depending on which benefits you're going for. So yeah, it's pretty versatile actually. I guess I'll move on to my pick.
Hey.
What?
I was just going to say,
okay.
I think we get everything encompassed in that exercise. I might be reaching a little bit here just to try and win this, but like the rehab, I mentioned the backwards walking. We could load it up super heavy and do marches with it too, or forward marches is like a bit of a hamstring rehab exercise. You can do like the classic knees over toes, backward sled, work on the VMO there. So there's some rehab applications of it too. Kind of an OP exercise.
Yeah, you can. Okay. With the sled, you can do a lot. With sled sprints specifically, even then, they're still a really good rehab exercise. Because like, if you don't want to go, I think what Les talks about a lot is if you don't want to go too fast. Or it was either no, I heard it. I don't know if it was Les actually. Maybe it was Boo. But if an athlete is coming back from rehab, actually, if you load really heavy, it's a lot safer because you're not going as fast. So you can build up strength that way, and then like over time you slowly decrease load to get them back into specific sprinting. Yeah. But yeah, that actually, it is kind of OP.
Yeah,
actually.
And you can just like load up super heavy and walk through the mechanics, and I don't know. I think you can feel out the acceleration mechanics a little bit better. I've seen some Olympic athletes doing that with like super heavy loads. You can even gain some strength and size with that if you're a football athlete or something. But yeah, a little bit OP. All right.
My pick?
Yeah, go for it. First round.
It's funny because it actually wasn't going to be my first pick.
I'm curious now.
But after like thinking about it for a couple seconds, that would have been my first pick.
Yeah.
If I was to redo it, because like it's a lot more specific. Okay, well my pick would be top speed sprinting.
Okay.
but like because like it gives you different benefits than just acceleration-based sprinting, but acceleration-based sprinting is more specific to sports because not in a lot of sports do you hit top speed, even though it has a lot of benefits. Like you hit higher tension levels at top speed than you do at acceleration, so it strains your muscles more than acceleration does.
Yeah.
Strains your connective tissue, your tendons a lot more. So it's a little bit more potent of a stimulus, strength-wise and plyometric-wise at top speed when you're at top speed than when you're doing acceleration. And it trains neuromuscular factors greater than accelerations because you're moving so fast. Moving at such high velocities, it takes higher levels of coordinative skills than acceleration does. So that's why I was going to go with it as my first pick, but then like you can do a lot with the sled and like acceleration is just always more specific to sports.
Yeah,
so
that's kind of the angle I was playing with that. But I mean, you're taking top speed.
Top speed is my second one.
That's your second pick.
But
Super.
if I could pick first, it would be acceleration.
For sure.
Sprinting.
Top speed, definitely a great pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like you said, like the neuromuscular adaptations you get from the top speed sprinting, huge. The muscle tensions, the injury prevention, really good. But yeah, no, I think that first couple steps a little bit more applicable to most sports, but again, great pick.
Yeah, I guess what we should talk about before we move on to the next one is like we talked about in acceleration why the sleds are good for acceleration.
Yeah.
And I guess why top speed is good in general, but I guess maybe we should take that to other, how can I say this? We should elaborate on it a little more for sports or athletes who don't do a lot of sprinting in their sport.
Yeah.
I guess we kind of touched on it in our video too, but because this would be our top exercises for just overall athleticism, hey?
Yeah.
So I guess for top speed, we kind of touched on it, I guess, but plyometrics, every land-based team sport needs to develop their connective tissue and their muscles and their muscle tendon unit. So sprinting does that because your muscles are coordinated with your tendons the entire time. So it gets your tendon ability stronger and builds your strength. So it's more, it translates to sports where you might not even run. So that, along with increased tendon abilities, can lead to higher vertical jumps, better lateral quickness in sports, first step explosiveness, all that stuff, and just better coordinative skills in general, which is obviously important in every sport.
Yeah, I'd say, for the top speed too, we touched on the nervous system too, but I think that would be the most potent training method, in my opinion, to train the nervous system. So you can recruit more motor units, and obviously you can take that into any realm of sport too. You want to produce maximal amount of forces in most sports. Every athlete needs to move as quick as possible. So that'd be just a great training method to train that. You can transfer that into the gym too. It'll make you stronger for other aspects of training with your sport.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I feel like I'm just gassing up top speed too much.
Yeah, maybe
talk
about your first pick. Yeah, and I guess even acceleration, it's like if you don't care about your inherent like running ability and acceleration, or even like your acceleration technique, it's even in like volleyball or basketball, you still need that explosive first step. Yeah. Even if you're only moving a couple steps, and that is where like sled accelerations can help you as well.
I think it's huge too, because it's kind of that indirect form training or technique training. You kind of have to create horizontal forces. You need to project yourself horizontally in order to move the sled.
Mm-hmm.
So for someone who doesn't have a ton of time to work on the technical aspect of it, they're still getting that horizontal technique training while they're training their speed and their power for
First
their
step
sport.
Explosiveness.
Exactly. And I think something like a sled, that power can translate to even sports like hockey, just that drive, and skates, or different sports like that. In the first couple steps, you see that, and I feel like I'm referencing the other video now, but like volleyball, basketball, like that's the difference between you making the play and you not making the play, right? So that burst of acceleration, if you can actually drive yourself horizontally, you cover so much more ground.
Yeah. Okay, I guess we can stop guessing at sprinting.
This is going to be the most biased draft ever.
Yeah.
In summary, sprint. Okay.
But there are other there's still other very good modalities, and sprinting isn't just like the absolute king by any means, but maybe we're a little bit biased. Okay,
definitely
so you get
biased.
the next pick.
Yeah, okay. So I'm going something a bit more reactive. I'm going depth drops and depth jumps. So I think if you can give me both of those in one pick, I don't know, that reactive strength, absorbing the eccentric force coming down. I think it's just really important for athletes to train that eccentric quality, whether it's decelerating in football or decelerating and changing direction. I mean, you see that in most sports, to handle those eccentric forces and be able to stop and then produce force the other way can help you make a lot more plays, get to the ball, and also just reacting out of it. It's a really good potent plyometric, and you can program it really well to get that reactive strength training. So I think that's a key that a lot of athletes will be missing in their training, and super valuable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it lets you, because of the drop heights you use and falling from that drop height, it lets you really overload the eccentric component of the drop. So you absorb, your muscles and your tendons absorb that drop, and then like the goal of a tendon is to store energy and return that energy with as little energy loss as possible. So like that's ultimately what you're achieving in a depth jump or depth drop or whatever. And the more you practice it, the better your muscle tendon unit gets at storing and releasing the energy that it has stored. Because muscle tendon units that don't work that well, what happens is when you land in a depth drop or something, a lot of that or energy can get dissipated as heat. So you waste a lot of the energy that you want to actually transfer into that athletic quality. So that's like...
Yeah, so it's essentially just like energy leak
stiffness
in the chain. So yeah, that energy that you want to harness and use to react and move into the other direction, you're leaking out as heat out of your muscles and your tendons. So you want to use that maximally. And this is a great exercise to work on that stretch shortening cycle and work on that reactive strength to allow you to handle those eccentric forces and produce forces in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
You want to move on to your round
two? Let me double check my list.
Consult the list.
Yeah.
All right. The midpoint.
Okay. Yeah. Those are my top three actually.
Okay, that's good. We're on the same page then.
Okay. My pick would be Olympic lifts.
Oh.
Was that your next pick?
Yeah, that was my next pick.
I absolutely love Olympic lifts. They're so much fun. Yeah. That's not the reason I picked them. There's so many benefits. Okay, like
we're gonna have to break this one down for a while.
This is a pretty complex exercise, but okay, if we tackle the big rocks, they develop your power, your max strength, your coordination,
rate of force development, and some like neglect. Some benefits that you get that I don't see people talk about a lot is like they actually train your deceleration ability and your reactive strength, because more specifically when you use a higher weight, because we do that type of training where for a couple of days of the week or once a week we'll do like just like 65%. Yeah.
But then like when you load really heavy, like 80+%.
Yeah.
When you bring that weight up fast, you have to, when you do a power clean, the difference between a power clean and normal clean, in a normal clean you drop low to the ground and really absorb it. Whereas when you do a power clean, you almost catch the bar in a quarter squat position. So you have to summon a lot of strength really quick. So you have to have high rate of force development to stop that weight on a dime. And that's like when you're trying to jump off the run or even cut in a sport, literally all you're doing is just like stopping on a dime to redirect a force elsewhere. So it's like you stopping the barbell on a dime to either just like leave it there or squat it up afterwards.
Yeah, so you're creating those muscle tensions to catch that weight and absorb that force, which, I don't think people talk about that too much. Like, generally, they just focus on the power development aspect of the Olympic training, that eccentric training, and just, being able to produce enough force to overcome that weight, absorb it, and move up with it quickly into that squat. Super beneficial. Olympic lifts are just so much fun too, honestly. I think from a coaching aspect they're really good because they have so much variety. I mean, you can do snatches, power, you can do from the hip, you can do hang cleans from the knee, so many different grips, different joint angles, different positions that we're starting from, different heights. So you're just keeping the athlete engaged, keeping the athlete excited about switching up the variation of all these lifts, which I don't know, like hex bar jumps are definitely a pretty good alternative, but they're just really tough to switch up when you program. You can switch up the heights, but that's about it. And I think there is that aspect of switching up an athlete's programming and the diversity of exercises that keeps athletes engaged and keeps them developing properly. That is a little bit underrated sometimes.
It's funny because that's actually where I was about to go next, was like talking about the hex bar comparison.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people use hex bars in place of Olympics, which like sometimes I'll use them too, just like as a change up or
For
just
sure.
like I don't know. When I was doing dunk training, I used them a little more, just like, I don't know, no specific reason. But like a benefit of the Olympics too is they're complicated. They're not easy. And I know that's why a lot of coaches don't like doing Olympics or they give trap bar jumps instead. But like athletes need to be really good at doing complex movements and coordinating complex movements. So it's like why don't we just teach them Olympics? Because they're complex to learn, but they're not like they don't take that long.
I agree. I don't know. I think people kind of rag on the learning curve of Olympic lifts a little bit too much. When it's like we're not training to be pro Olympic lifters here, and even those guys are dropping into crazy depths to catch the weight. We don't. We need to produce that force. We need to catch it at a specific angle. But as long as you're getting your hips through triple extension, generating force, and you're doing it safely, I feel like you're high enough to an athlete gold standard of an Olympic lift, and that doesn't take too long to get. And if you're trying to make progress as an athlete, developing your athletic ability, it's just really nice to have that variation year over year because you're going to be doing a lot of training, obviously, in your development. So it gives you so much more variety to work with.
Yeah, and they're very good at teaching you like the proper coordination of triple, not quite full, like when I say triple extension, I'm not like saying like full 100% extension, but like whatever triple extension you see in sports or in sprinting where it's like 90% close to full. Anyway, like it's really good at teaching you the coordination of like flexing or extending at the ankle, the knee, and the hip, like in unison. And the one thing I noticed about trap bar jumps compared to when I do Olympics too, is you'll almost never go into an Olympic lift set like without having 100% focus because it's so complicated and it's so easy to mess up. Whereas like a trap bar jump, you can go in like a little bit half-ass just because there's not like a technical component to it. And like I know when you're training you should be 100% in the zone, but like that like there's a few times when you train where you're just like kind of going through the motions, you know what I mean? Just because you've been training for so long, and sometimes you have those days, but like with Olympic lifts it's like that's really hard to do. It just kind of just like summons your focus. Yeah,
for sure. Especially when you're pushing the weights a little bit. On like the heavier weight days, I mean, I don't want to use the term dangerous exercise, but like you need a certain level of coordination and focus to get the weight up, obviously, and perform the lift, which can excite an athlete. But also there's that element of, I don't know, Boo talks about it like the element of risk, but it's kind of good to be pushing maxes for an athlete. I mean, it's good for your hormonal profile to get that win and to PB and to like summon your strength to catch that weight. I think there's just that element to Olympic lifting that can just be so beneficial for athletes. Like when you hit a PR in a power clean, it's a pretty good feeling. It's a little bit more sweet than like a PR in a squat, in my opinion. Just that catch and absorb and then drop.
And like from what I've seen too, like when you compare trap bar jumps to Olympic lifts, is like as the year progresses, if Olympic lifts are a staple in your program, you'll progress like up to 100% Olympic lift. But like when you do, I haven't seen people do trap bar jumps where it's like they do like a 1 rep max trap bar jump, you know? So it's like it's a little harder to measure. Whereas Olympic lifts, it's like you actually see the progress, even though like for us, for a lot of the year we stick between like 50 and 65% and then like implement in like a heavy day per week.
That's actually very true. You never really see that 1 rep or getting even close to that 1 rep, which I don't know. I mean, you could argue that trap bar jumps are a little bit more close to like the ballistic side, which is obviously really good and it's a really good exercise, but I don't know. You can go all the way from moving lightweight super fast on Olympic lifting variations all the way up to that 1 rep power clean where the weights are getting pretty heavy for some athletes.
And like I mentioned it briefly, but we didn't really talk about it much, is like how Olympics can like improve and maintain your max strength too, because like the main reason people use them is to increase power, but power is a function of force and velocity, and it's like if power is going up, then either force or velocity or both has to go up. So if force is going up, that means your strength is going up. Which is like, it hits a lot of big rocks actually.
It does.
Maybe Olympic lifts is number one.
Need to reshuffle these a little bit. That was. I need to consult the list here. That was a Michael Jordan pick right there. Okay, yeah, I'm going with bounds. So
that wasn't gonna be my next actually.
No, I'm curious to see what else you have here. The reason I go with bounds because we're going with I guess total athleticism here. So you get the regular bounds, you can get speed bounds, horizontal base bounds, vertical base bounds, but then you also get lateral bounds. So get out of that sagittal plane. I know that's important for a lot of athletes. So that's mostly why I picked that. There's a lot of variation to bounds. I mean, we could go through the exercise diversity argument that we did with Olympic lifts, but I don't know, we can kind of hit on the same points there. A lot of different ways to program them. They pair really well with like an acceleration day afterwards. Your plyometrics can be bounds. With a top speed day, you can pair vertical bounds. With more of a sport specific change of direction deceleration day, you can do lateral bounds. So it's just a really potent plyometric and a lot of different ways to program it.
Yeah, and that's what's important. Like when we're picking these three exercises, it's almost like if you couldn't pick anything else, these are only three, and that's why bounding is so good too. Yeah, is like you can do vertical, horizontal, change of direction, and it's like ideally athletes would do like a top speed or have some top speed work in their training or acceleration work, and they would do change of direction work unless you're a sprinter. Then it's like you don't really need that much change of direction work. So it's like doing bounds, you have a variation for each one of those days. Like you would toss in vertical with top speed, horizontal with acceleration, and lateral in with your change of direction work. So it's like it's very versatile, and it's a very complementary menu item to those main.
Yeah, you're getting a lot more reps moving your body through different ranges of motion. I think the lateral aspect of that is super important. But then, it's just a good potent plyometric to work on these movement qualities, and it pairs up super well with other qualities that we're trying to develop anyway.
Yeah, and I like what you said about, or how you mentioned movement qualities too, because like vertical bounding, like it is not the same thing as top speed. Horizontal bounding isn't the same as acceleration, lateral to change of direction, whatever. But it still gives you a lot of practice at the skills that make you good at those things without like having to go out and do more top speed sprints or acceleration sprints, because it gives you, like if you do vertical bounds or horizontal bounds, it gives you context to how like force application should feel when you're doing top speed sprinting or horizontal sprinting, if you know what I mean. Yeah,
it just isolates producing force in that fashion and isolates that aspect of it. I think it translates super well and improves athletes' abilities to produce force in certain directions. So that's kind of why it pairs up super well with the acceleration day. We do horizontal base bounds to get that horizontal force production, and then vertical bounds for the vertical production, force production.
So that was your last pick.
That was my last pick,
Your last pick? Okay. So what's your team so far?
Okay, we'll recap. I got sled sprints. What was my second pick?
Depth jumps and
depth jumps. Depth jumps, depth drops, and then bounds.
Okay.
I think that's a pretty good athletic development regimen. I wish I could have top speed sprinting, obviously, but I don't know. I think I can make a pretty athletic team with those three elements only.
Okay. If you'd asked me like 2 minutes ago, I probably would have said ballistic lifting.
Okay.
But I think I'm going to go with heavy lifting, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah, because...
Compound lifting?
Yeah, like heavy compound lifting, especially if I have top speed and Olympics already. Just because heavy lifting, like a heavy squat or something, it's really good at just building like foundational and base level of strength and like good balance in muscles. And I like the nervous system benefits that you get from heavy lifting, and even the hormonal benefits that are reported to, like increased testosterone, like HGH and that stuff. But like when you do a heavy lift, you can almost feel like that surge in testosterone. You know what I mean? But I don't know. It's just an overall good way to get stronger. And if you want to increase your power, increase your athleticism, like you need to get stronger, because power is a function of force or strength and velocity. So it's like you need to increase the two variables to increase your overall power, or just go straight to power. But putting balance in your training is a good way, or is the best way to do that, where you individually increase force and velocity and increase power itself as well, rather than just only increasing power. But
Yeah, so you're pretty much just taking slow strength, maximal strength development work with compound movements.
Yeah.
So you'd get like the squat, the bench press, but it's just, you can't play down to like a more explosive version of a squat. It would just be maximal strength development.
yeah, just like Matt, or like
Yeah.
just not necessarily like one rep max every time, but just like heavy, push the weight, like trying to get your muscles that are involved like as strong as possible.
Right.
Best bang for your buck, get the most like compounds, because
Yeah.
like get the most muscle tissue active for like the least amount of work you
Yeah.
have to do.
Yeah, that's a really good pick. I feel like just looking at your team all the way down, it's pretty
Got the
good.
bases
You're
covered,
covering
right?
all the bases for sure. Yeah, I got a lot more plyometrics,
They're steroids,
but they're
man.
pretty much a steroid. So I think my team will be all right. We'll load up the sled with 400 pounds, and we'll get our max strength development. Okay, now we go find 10 athletes and we train them with only these 3.
Yeah,
And see which
group
team
does
wins
better.
in every sport. Or we
That'll
do a
be
combine.
There'll be a study coming out of this too.
The
Sponsored by Med
the
Athletics.
Med Athletic study.
Yeah.
Okay, so run through your team quickly one more time.
Okay, so at point guard we got top speed. Then we got so top speed, Olympic lifts, and heavy lifting.
Okay, yeah. That's we go through it like that.
That's
That's how I
that's a
program a
big 3.
workout right there.
Yeah.
That is a big 3.
Yeah, that is actually.
Yeah. Damn. Covers all your bases. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of does.
Do we need an outro?
No, I don't think so. I think
Pretty
that's,
good.
We kind of
That's pretty much it. Yeah. Thanks for listening, guys. Little outro. Comment below which team you think would win if we could only train with these 3 elements per team. Comment a little rationale, a little bit of reasoning. Any questions you have, maybe we'll answer them on the next podcast.
Yeah, you'll see Team Jonah's list and Team Dawson's list. Comment which athletes, if they followed each program, would get the best results. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Meta Monsters. Thank you guys for tuning into the first Meta Athletics podcast. Please like, comment, and leave us a 5-star review if you did like it. If you didn't like it, please also leave us a 5-star review. Comment below what we should make the next podcast topic on, and stay tuned for other content, value, tips. Thanks, Meta Monsters. Peace.